And then there was a artist. There's like for figurative artists, people that like that, and students. There's like a real light, a guy named Odd Nerdrum, who's this Norwegian dude, and he's an amazing painter and paints from life. And he has a lot of sort of angst. Kind of, he'll paint these barren landscapes. That he'll go to Iceland and paint these landscapes, and he's painting from life, and it's a lot of people kind of missing limbs and digging and burying other people, and really impressive. And since one of the galleries that shows him is Forum Gallery in Manhattan, which was just literally a 10-minute walk from the school I went to, because it's all like just right south of Central Park, so I could go to the gallery and see his work in person, because it's such a big difference between seeing the art and seeing pieces. So I was really inspired by him too. So my work was kind of going that way. I was even starting to think of going and painting in his studio, and which you could do. You could just apparently show up there and like maybe you'd model for him some of the time and help, but you could start to learn to paint and be there. I was starting to think of doing that, and I even met him because he was a couple times at the gallery and talked at our school, and yeah, it was kind of a funny story because once he had a show, and I was looking at a lot of his paintings, and he had one painting, he'd paint these self-portraits, and he was this sort of odd but impressive guy, and he'd wear this cloak and have this sort of like rock star kind of thing. But he had one self-portrait that was so impressively painted, but an odd subject matter because he had raised the cloak, and he's painting himself standing there with an erection. And I'm looking at the painting, like all the paintings, but I'm finally looking at this one, and I feel this someone looking at me, and I turn around, it's the artist looking at me.
Oh, wow.
Which was so bizarre because you could have thought of so many things to say, but at the time I was just kind of speechless.
Yeah.
Could have asked, like, how long can you hold a pose for? Like, But I didn't know what to say, and I got to talk to him a couple times, but he was like kind of one of my gods.
Did you get a little starstruck there?
Yeah, I was a little starstruck. Yeah,
we talk about it on the show a lot of times because we deal with a lot of artists who end up like musicians who end up like facing their heroes and stuff.
Yeah,
and we call it about turning it off the fanboy.
Yeah,
were you able to do that?
Well, I nodded. I just kind of nodded, and he had a glint in his eye, and so it was kind of embarrassing, but really cool at the same time. But I got to talk to him another time about his painting, which was really cool.
Especially kind of I'm going to apologize up front because everything I'm about to say is taking out of my pure imagination. I have no actual knowledge of the scene or whatever, but I assume, because like when I think of fine art, like fine art, yeah. When I think of like high end, like haute couture, like that kind of shit, the people that are involved in that, I can't in my head imagine spending more than 30 seconds with them.
Yeah, like I feel that I just feel awkward a lot of the time. Like
yeah,
I'm supposed to say something within a parameter that fits with, I'm not a schmoozer much. I don't go to many of the.
That was kind of my question. Did you find yourself in those situations where you were with those because you don't come off as one of those like like hoity-toity kind of like artsy-fartsy types.
I like hanging out with the artists and the outcasts,
right?
Like that kind of thing. And
yeah,
musicians and but I mean a lot of the gallery people are really good too. It's just it can be awkward at times or trying to present yourself. I'm not really geared for that for the most part. I like doing the work. I love being in environments where I feel kind of comfortable. Some of the people that you love,
right?
That kind of thing. But yeah, I kind of feel the same way as you a lot.
But you've had that opportunity to be in rooms like that.
Well, yeah, it's cool down there. I mean, that's the great thing. What was so great about going to school there, one of the many things was just being able to be in these places where you can like be in front of a Rembrandt or a Vermeer's and see the art, which you can do. You can go to the AGO and everything here too. But there's just so much of it going on there at that level. So yeah, it was great. And then even this teacher, that the fact that he had been with all these abstract expressionists and that kind of thing was amazing. And just there's so many people from all over the world there. I was hanging out mostly with these strange Swedish surrealist painters all the time. These kind of guys into all of this philosophy that I'd never heard about in films I'd never heard about. So it was just kind of hanging out with them a lot and going to art class and then going on these long walks and smoking a joint and then watching these strange movies, and so that was as much of an education for me too.
What did you pull from that?
I think embracing the unknown a lot. I think that sort of living that sort of more surrealist path a little more, like genuinely wanting to find and seek it, and then getting the sort of skills and having the fluidity and being subjected to so many different styles and talent levels and being able to feed off that, and just being in a place for 5 years where I could wander around and end up in the Met and be looking at these amazing shows. And then this teacher too, he would let me, so he came from this abstract expressionist realm, he would let me do what I wanted to do. So I was taking my photos and I was painting in this way, but he'd kind of hop on your boat. He'd go with you where you're going, and he'd just say, well, what about this? Or what about thinking about color for that? Or what about if you turn the painting upside down, forget about the subject matter, and you're just thinking about it as abstract. So I'd still be battling with the figurative, but he'd be kind of, asking me questions about what would happen if you did this. So that's where like color and process and abstraction started really coming into my pieces. But then, I always have kept love for kind of like portraiture and form and this kind of stuff.
Do you think you were a good student?
I think that with me, a lot of the time I really get into working intensely. So I think some of the time my concentration and pushing something, that I have that, but then I can really be a loafer and a dreamer and float and not. Like, some of the time I'm assuring people, other artists I talk to, I'm like, I'm not as productive as you think, or I'm not always painting,
right?
Because I'm really not. Like, there were a couple summers ago, it almost feels like I just lay on my sofa and all over town reading these Murakami novels. But I think that's good education too.
Right.
It's too bad we feel so guilty most of the time.